Warning: this program can change your worldview drastically, because not everyone is ready for the information given in here, but everybody has the right to know the truth. So if you decided to watch, then remember, it was your own decision. Thank you for understanding. Hello, my name is Donatas Banaitis. My physical body was born in the country of Lithuania, but my soul before coming to Earth came from star system Sirius. It came with millions of other souls, what are called star seeds, with 144,000 being the core group. Some people call us light warriors, because we are fighting for light by spreading the truth. Some call us indigo people, because we have strong indigo blue aura, which is the aura of teacher, and is common in Sirius and Pleiades star systems, where we are mostly coming from. We came from there to planet Earth, but before coming here, we were able to live everywhere in the universe. But now, we are like most normal human beings and are having an ordinary human life, except for the fact what we remember and know, why we are here and what is our mission. So it is hard for us to live in this planet, because we see the injustice and suffering going on in this world. We came to this planet long time ago and went through reincarnation cycles, waiting for the moment what is coming now. We were sleeping during most of our lifetimes, but now we are awakening to our mission, because we are starting to remember. We were prepared for this mission, that is the liberation of this planet from darkness. This world has suffering that is not natural in universe. This is because we are living in a world which is contaminated with a virus, what can be equal to cancer, which is evil-minded and is living on the expense of the whole world. This is the prime reason for the suffering in the world. In reality, soul should be free, and here it is enslaved. Surface population was tricked by virus to think that this is how it should be. Model is based on a very simple principle. Weak person is suffering because he thinks that it is his destiny, and strong person is taking advantage of the weak one because he thinks that this is the only way he can get everything he wants. And this is not true, because in reality everybody should get everything what they want for free, independently of personal or environmental factors. This is the prime right of every soul, and we all have been created this way. So we are here now to help this planet to heal the virus and to put everything into their places. And this virus exists in all levels. It is among ordinary people who are very angry, negative and aggressive, because their mind is programmed to act and react in a certain model. This model we have obtained from our show business people who are calling themselves stars, and whom lives many are following as an example. And they are receiving directions on how to act from the elite, who are calling themselves Bilderbergs and Masons, to whom belongs our bankers, industrialists, science, academia, media, and medicine people, who are all together are controlling our economy and worldview, and are determining tendencies for our technological future. And they receive directions from faceless shadow governments and high-level mafia cartel, because we are the ones who are behind the scenes and who truly decides and later gives directions to official government, what decisions we have to make and how to influence governmental elections, which economical branches will grow and which will be damned to fail. And these are controlled by Illuminati, or so-called the Enlightened Ones, who represents shadow side of our religions and who is calling themselves so because we think that we are the only ones who knows the whole truth, what is behind it all, because we are representing the false artificially created picture of judging God, and in the end we are the only ones who could help if the final judgment day would come. But still, we are receiving directions from shadow military and so-called breakaway civilization, which is located in secret, underground and space military bases, where we are working together with a few still remaining negatively programmed alien races, such as Draconians and Reptilians, who came here a long time ago with an agenda to take control over our world. Yet still, we are receiving directions from non-physical world, from those who are representing themselves as gods or lords of karma, who are controlling this world for thousands of years by controlling our reincarnation cycles and the flow of our lives by deciding to whom life will be lucky because it is aligned with their plans and to whom is waiting a bad luck and bad karma. Virus was spread all over the galaxies, but now is only in this planet, because the rest of the universe is already freed and is already waiting only for us. So, now I'm going to tell you the story of how it all happened, so you could understand the situation what we are in at this moment and how it is all possible. And later will remind you the tools what we all can use to help this healing process to go smoother and faster. Please understand, this program is not about completely accurate facts, but is more about overall picture. So relax and enjoy the ride. It is going to be very interesting and shocking for the most of you. It has all started with the source. What is the complete sanity, oneness and completeness? It has always existed, is existing now, and will always exist, because source is beyond time and space. The complete opposite of the source is the primal anomaly, that is like a random number generator, which is based on random nonsense, insanity, and separateness. At one moment, Source had the will to understand the primal anomaly and projected itself onto it. And what happened was what part of the oneness became unique. It happened because of the random strangeness, what was the base of the primal anomaly. And that is how a unique individual soul was created. Source began to project more of itself onto anomaly and create more souls. All souls were connected with each other and with the source by love. Souls which were created at the same moment became group souls, because we had similarities and were able to relate to each other easily. Each soul was unique based on how much source exposed itself into the primal anomaly while creating the soul. And this is why each soul had a different and unique perception on how it wanted to express itself and see its world. So agreements were created what every soul or group of souls could create everything we wanted. It just had to be in alignment with love and each other's soul, because creation is unlimited. But because despite the uniqueness between the souls, everything was still one love, so to be able to differentiate between each soul and to be able to express its uniqueness in creation of worlds, and for the soul to show its worldview, the technique of holographic projection by bending light was found, which was based on sacred geometry and the flower of life. This way souls were able to create different geometrical shapes and with them could create illusion of separation between two things. Yet everything still was conscious and connected by love. To be able to feel created objects, sense of touch were created with the use of magnetic fields. It is like trying to touch two magnets with the same polarity. They repel each other. It is just that sense of touch has much more precise active field. So it would be easier to move in created worlds. Gravity was created by opposite effect, by flipping sides between bodies' magnetic field and planets, so they would attract each other. So it would be possible to hear objects. Sound was created. For the objects to have different properties, density was created. It was all created by using waves of frequency, created by small particles, by controlling the speed of their movement, by using magnetic field waves. So objects would be possible to smell and taste. For that, small particles and receptors for them were created. So, souls started to use different shapes, techniques and their combinations, and were able to create worlds and life in them by filling holographic light forms with love. Lots of worlds were created from non-physical to physical. And each soul, by agreement, could come into each other's creation to experience its marvel and beauty and to understand its uniqueness. To experience a non-physical world, soul just needed to densify itself a bit into a shape, and by agreement it was able to explore the non-physical worlds. To have a full experience in physical worlds, with its uniqueness to perceive throughout 5 physical senses, soul needed by using love to create for itself an avatar, that is a physical body by which it was able to interact with the matter physically. And if a soul became bored of physicality or decided to experience something else, then it was free with love to disintegrate the physical body and to return that energy to the source, where it was originally created from in the first place. Same with the worlds. If a world was not needed anymore and lost its existential purpose, then, by free agreement between each soul of that world, it was disintegrated with love, and that energy was returned to the source, and souls just went for another experience. This way, life was full of happiness and love, and was never boring. Unlimited experiences were possible, based on the will of the soul. Starting from structural life in different cultures, till brave adventures in an unexplored worlds or fantastic scenarios. Everything was possible because everything was done by agreement and with love. Souls were even able to experience things like physical adventures in dark worlds, where they could fight with monsters and go to wars, and to do all that with love and joy, because every soul was free in those times, and everything was done by agreement to get into certain roles. It is like actors are doing in these days by trying to recreate those times. They play their roles, have lots of fun doing that together, and after the show is over, they just put costumes aside and go home to their loving families. Same with the souls. They would finish their agreed roles and go home or somewhere else for another experience. Thing like trauma did not existed, because what trauma can you get if no matter what you do, if you do not like it anymore, you just leave the scenario and go somewhere else to do something else. It is like with today's computer or table games. You can play whatever you want, from war games to civilization building. You play for some time, you become bored, so you go on and do something else. No trauma is involved. This is why people, and especially children, love so much games. It is because we are trying to recreate those times for themselves, because in their hearts they still remember. Neither thing like bad karma existed, because what bad karma could you get if you are just having fun with your friends by playing with love? For example, you are building city from Lego blocks and are having fun, but you become bored and everybody agrees what you are finished playing, and so you dismantle your creation and return blocks to its source. That is the box. Or like in computer games, where you create countless numbers of virtual worlds, and after they become boring, you just put them somewhere in your hard disk and just forget about them. Or if you need that space for something else, you just delete them. Nothing terrible or dramatic about it. Or like in real life playing paintball. While playing, you are really getting into the role because you want to defeat your opponent. And in the end, no matter who win or lose, but when the game is finished, you and your friends just put your world eyes aside and go home talking and remembering about a good time you had together. No grudge involved, just a positive experience. And it was like that with real physical avatars. And the avatars did not have so much meaning in those times, because soul did not associate itself with its avatar. Soul was always conscious, but it is just an avatar created for a physical experience, and soul was able to control matter and with love to materialize and dematerialize things if needed. Soul was able to create for itself a new avatar, repair instantly a defected one, make it indestructible, or disintegrate it and return that energy to the source, if not needed anymore. This way, physical experience was truly an amazing experience. One good example of as close as you can get to a true avatar in this world could be an example of Krishna, which is described in the Vedas. He was indestructible and was able to manipulate matter in any way he wanted, and he was not bounded by the laws of physics. He even lifted a mountain once. His mission was to return this world as much as possible to its natural balance by transforming here existing destructive darkness to constructive light, and his mission was very important. Because at one point in our history, things have changed towards the world what we see today. Few very powerful angels decided to try and see what will happen if we will expose themselves fully to the primal anomaly. Because the primal anomaly was the source of their uniqueness, the idea was to try and to explore just how unique one can become by completely exposing themselves to the primal anomaly. And so they did. And what happened was something what no one had expected, because they have lost their sanity completely. Before, the uniqueness in the soul came because it was just a little bit different from the source. But both angels, by exposing themselves completely to the primal anomaly, became so strange they were not able to relate towards other souls in any way, and so became hostile towards other souls, because they have almost lost the connection of love. In Bible, they are called the fallen angels. Random insanity instead of structural unique individuality became their dominant unique attribute. In other words, they became completely insane and started to attack everyone around them, because they were not able anymore to associate themselves with other souls, because they have lost the connection of love. Well, they did not lost it completely, because that would have meant their complete annihilation, but it became so weak but they were not able to feel it anymore, and because they almost lost their connection with the source and was not able to receive life energy through love, they soon understood that their only source of energy can be other souls who had that energy in them. Situation like that had never happened before, so no one knew what to do. It is like having a computer with an operating system, which has never experienced a hostile computer virus before, and have never been prepared for anything like it. And suddenly, all of your programs and games became infected with a random insane virus, what is destroying everything. No one could have ever been prepared for anything like it, because antivirus did not existed yet. And in the meantime, approximately 26,000 years ago, a few groups in the universe were playing a war game. It was a war game between bad guys, draconian reptilians from Orion star system, and a good guys, Syrians, Pleiadian humanoids. A few more mixed groups involved. Draconians for this game were created to try and conquer the universe, and humanoids to save it. The game was a bit intense, but under control, and any soul was able to switch sides or leave the game entirely if wanted. But then the hostile fallen angels came and infected the game with their virus. The bad guys, draconian reptilians, were more susceptible for the virus because they thought that if we will get the virus power, we will be able to defeat their enemies and win the game. But in reality, what happened was that they became completely insane themselves, and they forgot about the source and what it was all just a game. And because of that, the draconian reptilians became very hostile towards everybody and started to expand their wars drastically. Wars have spread so much that danger aroused the whole universe. So at that desperate time, the only logical solution to stop the war from spreading was to quarantine the whole infected zone. But at that moment, this was not possible for the light forces, because we were not able to stop the virus from spreading. So, an idea was introduced on how to trick the virus into quarantining itself. This is where the term starseed comes into play. The strongest, most experienced souls were chosen, and they have agreed with their own free will to go into the virus zone and to expose themselves to the fallen angels, who by that time became true Dark Lords. So Dark Lords could capture them, and they would become an energy source and food for the Dark Lords. And so they did, and what happened was, but when the Dark Lords understood what if they will enslave these souls, they will be able to drain them for eternity. And because they did not want that for those souls to escape, they created a quarantine zone so it would not be possible to get away. The plan had worked. But because these souls were very powerful and had a very strong connection with the source, they started to heal the virus from the inside by using love. That Dark Lords did not like it, so they came up with a plan. All they had to do was to block Starseed's direct connection to the source by using the same virus. So we were able to block the connection partially, and because souls were used to have a clear connection and ability to communicate with the source, Dark Lords were able to pretend to be the source, because they could stand in between the source and the soul, and then we were able to gradually, over thousands of years, to erase souls' true memories and to install false ones, like nothing had ever happened. There was no virus ever, and everything is okay. This is just as world is. Everybody was always hostile towards each other, and fighting for life is the only way to be able to live. We are the original gods and creators of the soul. Souls were never free, and true freedom is not possible. And most important, that love is a weakness and not a strength. Tricking souls into being hostile towards each other was very important, because this way souls were not able to unite. Because if we could unite, their power would increase drastically, and we could understand what is happening here and what we were tricked, and would start fixing the virus problem by using the power of love. But one by one, we were not powerful enough to start fixing the main problem, that is the virus. Instead, we were overwhelmed with personal problems like wars and survival. Another reason why wars were needed was when you are in fear for your survival, a strong emotion is present. That is an energy in motion, and this energy we were able to store into energy containers and then use it as food for themselves. With time, less and less true memories were present, and more artificial memories were installed. This way, we were able to trick souls into believing that you are a bad soul and you have to suffer, because you are fighting and are hurting other souls, when on the other hand, that was the only way we wanted you to think. That is, if you want to live, you had to fight and to defeat your opponent. This way you could get his power and become stronger. Or if you want to be a good person, you have to defend yourself and those who are important for you from the enemy, and then you will be a hero. But whenever you did so, after you die, they came and told to you what you have failed the test and hurt another soul. And now you will be punished for this, because you did a wrong thing. Next time, you have to be a victim and let yourself to be hurt or killed. This way, you can balance your karma. But when this happened, they would come again and told the soul, you were stupid for letting yourself to be a victim. Next time, you have to fight back. And so on and on. With thousands of years of this kind of programming, souls became true slaves for the lords of karma, and they were able to truly start calling themselves a karma lords. In the meantime, light forces were working on the rescue plan, and were healing the virus as much as possible. But an unexpected problem occurred, that some of the souls would have entered the quarantine zone because of their loss of memory and false programming, became hostile even towards the light forces. Because of trauma after trauma from meeting new souls in wars, every soul became hostile towards everyone else. And because every soul still knew deep in their hearts but this is not how life should be, and they were not able to understand why this is all permitted to proceed. And with the help of Karma Lords, this ended in the belief that even God is hostile and forgot about them, giving them only hardship after hardship, when it was actually all staged by the Karma Lords. Because soul as a soul did not lost its source power to create, but because of negative programming that we have to fight for survival, souls started to create mostly the reality of war for themselves, and were not able to escape it, because whenever soul came to conclusion that all these wars are nonsense and we should unite and create free and balanced world, then Karma Lords would come and told them that this is not possible because of the bad karma they have created for themselves, and they have to suffer for that. This created lots of negative emotions in the soul towards self for being so stupid in creating a bad karma for themselves, and even more negative feelings for the injustice in the system, because soul was not conscious about its actions before, and the lords were able to feed on that again. This scenario was ongoing all over the quarantine zone, which included many star systems with many planets. Starseeds still had some freedom in their choices and were able to make some choice, but because of negative programming, that resulted in many troubles, so life was not easy, especially in the planets where most of the surface population was native and it had evolved on that planet. Natives of these kinds of planets were not able to imagine how life could be different because they have grown in the quarantine zone. It is like in our world being born and raised in the concentration camp. You are not able to believe in older people's stories what life could be different outside the camp. And now imagine if the keepers of the camp are repeating to you every day but there is nothing outside the camp. Even if it were something outside, it could only be the same like here. This definitely forms your opinion about the world, no matter what elders are saying to you. But if you get your daily bread from the keepers, you will listen to them, to what they are saying to you, if you will be willing to get your daily bread tomorrow. No matter what elders might be telling to you about free world or even about coming salvation, But in concentration camp, you will listen to the one who gives you bread, because it is hard to hold imaginary hope with an empty stomach. That is how powerful their programming is. But despite that, the only ones who were able to survive the concentration camps were the ones who were able to keep their hope alive. But when the starseeds incarnated, it raised the consciousness of the whole planet. Because starseeds, despite the karmic negative programming still in their hearts, were able to remember what a true love is. And despite all the hard circumstances, they still were able to follow their hearts and spread the message of love. And in all the occupied planets where starseeds have incarnated, we were able to remember the love, show it to the native population, and when the native population was able to understand the truth about the power of love and what everything can be agreed upon, one after another planets started to demand freedom from karmic slave system. And because the surface population decided what they want freedom from the karma lords, the light forces were able to come and liberate the planet. Because the only way karma lords were able to control population was only by keeping them in fear and separation. But when the truth came out and population declared their freedom, the planet became free. This way, little by little, almost all the quarantine zone was healed. Starseeds incarnated to the new planet. Of course, at first they did not remember anything, because with each incarnation karma lords deleted their memories. But with time, we began to remember the love, showed that to the surface population. Population understood, but despite the fact that everybody is unique and different, this should not be a separating factor, but instead a uniting one. Because it was uniqueness in everyone what made them special, and planet declared it wants to live in peace and harmony and became free. And it all came down to only one planet. Yes, only one planet, and it is the planet Earth. This is the last planet where the infection is still present, except for a few asteroids in our solar system where the Dark Lords still have their strongholds to keep the quarantine in our solar system. All the rest of the universe is already free. This planet is the last one, because Karma Lords have chosen this planet as their main stronghold, to rule the whole quarantine zone. Now, with the rest of the planets in the universe free, we are the only ones in the whole universe who are still slaves for the Karma Lords, and because of that, we suffer the most, because we still need food, and because this planet is the last one, so Karma Lords really wanted to make sure that the surface population will not wake up. So we have created lots of distractions for the people, so we would not be able to realize what is happening in true reality. First, we need to understand that this planet had many flourishing civilizations before, which came to this planet from other planets, and they had way much higher level of technology than we have today. Some of them were positive, some were not, and they were visited by many other galactic civilizations with different agendas. Lots of genetic manipulation was done with humans and animals for various experimental reasons, some to make them stronger, some to make them weaker. Last known civilization to us what have lived on the surface of this planet was Atlantis, which was in the middle of Atlantic Ocean. That should be obvious even from the name. Many legends are still present about Atlantis, but when Karma Lords came to this planet during the Atlantean period, they have destroyed this civilization. They did this by manipulating and mind programming Atlantean leaders and tricking them into false belief that God and Earth Spirit Gaia are hostile towards them and wants to kill them, as it have did with other civilizations. It was easy to trick them this way because Atlantis as civilization have formed in quarantine zone, which was as a mild concentration camp without full freedom. So we convinced Atlantean leaders to create reality distorting technologies by telling them lies that this way they will get power to control the Gaia and reality, instead of just being able to communicate with the creation and making agreements for the betterment of all. Leaders took the bite because they wanted the power, and this was the fall of the Atlantis, because they have created such strong reality distorting technologies that it have destroyed the Atlantis and sunk the whole continent. Many have died, some went to live underground, others were scattered all around the Atlantic Ocean coastline and started new civilizations there. In Bible, it is called the fall of Babel Tower. But later some drastic cataclysms came, what in Bible is called the Great Flood. But because those civilizations still had some connection with the Earth Spirit Gaia, and we understood that from time to time, because of natural cycles, planet has to do a polar shift. So those civilizations were prepared for that, which is told in the story of Noah's Ark, which was just one part of the big relocation plan. And before the cataclysms came, went to live in the underground and created a so-called Agarthian civilization. Please understand, inside our Earth there are lots of caves and caverns, and it is inhabited with lots of life there. Completely different weather, lightning, ecosystem, different animals, and different people. There were lots of civilizations living there even before Atlanteans came there. So it is very widely inhabited. It is just that we are separated from them by the Karma Lords for now. So when the cataclysms came, other more stubborn ones, who did not want it to go underground, left to live on the surface, but were affected drastically by the cataclysms and have degraded drastically and are known as a Stone Age people, on which is our false evolution theory is based, which was written by the Dark Lords to lead us away from the truth. With time, from what was left on the surface, new civilizations have aroused similar to the ones we know from our written history. Important to mention is that our history was also written in such a way as just to fool us, to further hide all the facts about all civilizations before us, so it would fit to the Dark Lord's created model of evolution, which does not even have any real evidence and only speculations, because monkeys and beings who supposedly evolved from them cannot live together at the same time. Simple logic. Most of the souls in these new civilizations were the same souls from the Atlantis, and people were still in touch with their memories about the fall of Atlantis. So, some more spiritually advanced people were able to communicate with spirit world and get in touch with light beings from beyond the quarantine zone. And light beings have told them the truth about enslavement of this planet. This is when the legends of the fall of Atlantis and how the Dark Ages came were written down. Also, with the mystical prophecy about coming saving of this planet. Of course, Karma Lords were able to intervene in those communications and distort most of the facts, telling lies that what is coming is no saving, but the opposite, a total world destruction, an apocalypse. What actually translates from Greek language not as a destruction, but as a revealing of truth. But for Karma Lords, it definitely meant the end of the world, that is, the end of their mad world. So to even further distort the facts, they introduced a concept that it is all just cycles between good times and bad times, and everything is normal here. Sometimes good takes over, sometimes evil takes over. That was just how world was created and how it should be. And of course, we have cycles in universe. It is like we have day and night here on Earth. But it has nothing to do with that. When it is day, everybody is sane and normal. And when the night comes, everybody has to become lunatic psycho killers. So when shamans began to question how is it that we ended up here, why such a great civilization as Atlantis has fallen, and what to do to prevent this from happening in the future and to stop the suffering, here Karma Lords would come, present themselves as gods, and told them, "You have been punished by the Creator and were banished from the heaven for your foolishness, because you have eaten the forbidden fruit of knowledge and created illegal technologies to enslave and control the earth spirit of Gaia that is illegal in the creation. Instead of just communicating with her and reaching agreements with her which would have been best for you all. Now you have to suffer the consequence and rework all of your karma by suffering. So you are banished from the heavenly Garden of Eden and you will suffer now. The only thing you can do now to save yourselves is to obey and listen to us completely, because we are your gods and your creators, and we know what is best for you." It was hard to argue with an argument like that, because it did sounded like logical truth, especially because this story, with slight modifications to fit every person's need, was told by them over and over again for thousands of years to different people to program in our consciousness the program of guilt, and what we are all sinners and we deserve to suffer. And Karma Lords are even doing you a favor by punishing you, and you even have to be grateful to them for that and even worship them, when in reality they are the ones who are setting up the traps for you in the first place, so what later they could blame you and punish you. And because individual people and masses are agreeing with that, because they believe what it is all true and how it should be, because they want justice and what those who are evil should be punished, this way Karma Lords are able to influence these persons for their plans to create even more suffering in this world. But if some individual starts to disagree with them, then they would just send their demon minions to torture you and to put you into fear that something is wrong with you, because you don't want to judge people for their actions. And with some effort, if person does not have a strong heart and is not able to find any support from world, in most cases just gives up into the will of Karma Lords to judge and to be judged himself, and returns to Karma Lord's created scenario of crime and punishment, or so-called law of karma, by which everyone gets punished in the end for their crimes, when in reality the one who is acting against other person's will is sick and has to be healed with love and not to be punished. And on this principle is based our whole court system, which is hopeless, because person after being in jail for his crime against other person's will, in the end comes out of prison only more traumatized and not just learned his lesson for his action. And punishment in death also does not change anything. Even the opposite, it makes things worse. Because souls who were executed, they will reincarnate again. But this time, they will be even more traumatized, so they would become maniacs. And mostly will be seeking revenge for their executioners. And will want to spread their bad deeds even more. Light beings, on the other hand, were also present on this planet and did their best to fix the problems in this planet and to free the humanity. But whenever they came and whatever they did, mostly the consequences were not as it was expected, because Karma Lords were still in control of this planet. And if light forces were intervening, for example, to stop a war or something like that, then Karma Lords would send all of their dark minions to attack and to punish the one who was receiving the message of love and light, just to suppress him. This ended up in big trauma, because if you chose light and love, you were attacked. So, in the consequence, people started to choose darkness and ignorance more because you were punished this way a little bit less. If you were handy for the Karma Lords with your evil deeds, then they could even let you to rise in civilization. This is why all the conquerors were so strong at their beginning. But after the conquerors became no longer useful to the Karma Lords, they just crushed them like a bug, while letting others to become heroes for taking down the evil conqueror. In the end, no matter which side you represent, you will be punished by them anyway, because you hurt the other person without agreement and traumatized him. No matter what the person did to you, because you have no right to judge. Only the God or so-called Karma Lords can judge, and that person will be punished too. Actually, even if you did nothing, you were punished too for that, for not taking action. And they made you to feel guilty and sorry for yourself for being so weak and not being able to do anything about the situation which seemed for you wrong. With this mad system, we were able to take away free will from the people, because people were too confused what is good and what is wrong, because you were punished for everything. Because of that, we were able to take away free will from people, because people felt worthless and stupid, and were not able to choose for themselves. So they just let God to decide for them their fate, and let themselves to be only passengers in their own life. Yet people still wanted a good life for themselves, because it is the nature of a soul to be free. So Karma Lords invented the concept of ego, which means that if you want something for yourself, that means you are an egoist and a bad person, because you are not worthy of anything, and if you really want something, then the only way to get it is by hard and long work. This way, person is occupied his whole life and has no time to solve the existential questions. On the other hand, if a person did not care about what others are thinking about him and still found a way on how to use others to achieve his goals, then Karma Lords let him to rise in the society if he was useful for them, because he was creating suffering in the world. But later, when he became useless for the Karma Lords, then they would compromise him, and because people seen him as a tyrant, Lords of Karma gave a chance for the people to condemn and to punish their tyrant. And later, Karma Lords were able to punish people one by one for what they have done to the tyrant by using karma and feeling of guilt. This way, Karma Lords were perceived as gods, and after you die, you go into the spirit world, where they would meet you as the judges and would show you a short movie about your life, and then could judge you by how much suffering you have created in the world during your lifetime. If not much, you would spend some time in a controlled artificial heaven and then be forced to reincarnate again, because they could tell you that all of your loved ones are also reincarnating, so if you want to be with them, it is time for you to go. Or they gave you some inspiration what in this lifetime you could be able to do, and you could become excited about it. Or could give you the sense of mission what you should go and make a world to a better place. Which is true, but still it should be your own choice and not their force. Or something similar depending on individual case, because they know souls very good, because same souls are in their system for a very long time. But if person created a lot of suffering, then you have two options. One is you can go to hell, which was artificially created to instill even more fear into souls, where demons would torture you for your sins. Or you can reincarnate again and do your best to work out your bad karma. Not many people wanted to go to hell, where you would need to experience eternal suffering for your bad deeds. So mostly people just chose to reincarnate again and to suffer for their actions in physical body, again and again, hoping what maybe next time I will do better. Problem was, but whenever you reincarnated, your memories were wiped out again by telling you what this is for your own good, so you could start a new life without karma load on your conscience. But karma still came, and people were confused. Why life is punishing them so much, and who to blame for that? Yourself, others, or God? And if you were not a saint while living in life, because you needed to eat and live, and that meant but obviously you will get angry sometimes or do something by accident, and that meant what you will have to repay this debt again. And it was impossible to repay. The only way for many who began to understand karmic system was to go to the monastery or to the mountains, where you could be able to live alone and to not create more of that bad karma. And this whole situation was not innocent, because first people were brainwashed to believe that the only way to live in this world was by being hostile towards your enemies. Second, anyone who tried to make contact with the light forces were drastically attacked, that resulted in trauma. And third, nobody was able to live in love and light all the time, because memories of people were constantly deleted and changed for artificial ones, consciousness suppressed to not be conscious of our actions, and if a slight aggressive or negative emotion were present in person, it were enlarged and exaggerated to create as much destruction as possible. And to confuse people even more, we were able to project fearful and negative images into the minds of people whenever people were thinking about something. This ended up in a polarized mind and a confused feelings. This way, we were able to control people by keeping them separated and in fear. This resulted in countless wars and conflicts. Dark Lords were also reincarnating into human bodies, so they could have fun and rule over the world. It was and still is with more or less but all royal families in this world. There is among them good souls too, which comes there to influence the Dark Ones to lessen the suffering Dark Ones are creating. But this is not often, because for good souls it is very hard to live in an environment like that, because Dark Ones want them to participate in their dark plans. And in actuality, souls are never born in royal families by accident, because all birth and death process in this world is highly controlled and planned in such a manner that to make good people sick and broke, so they could not be able to help to the world, and for the bad ones it is easier to be born in rich families. Because Karma Lords were able to perceive that if you will have money, you will be able to create a lot of suffering with it, or at least will not be able to use them for anything good to help for the people. This is why royal families are fantastically rich and everybody else is living more or less but in poverty. Of course, Karma Lords are not able to control our reincarnation cycles completely, because in the end, we are the ones who are choosing what we want to experience. But the problem is that they are able to tell us lies, so we would just stay in their quarantine zone and we would choose what they want us to choose, but not what we want, so they could control us. That is the most important thing for them. Also, it is important to understand that it does not matter on what circumstances we are born. We can change everything, only with the power of our will. Of course, we can try to interfere, but we do not have to suffer for anything and we can always choose. Of course, our choices are determined by our level of understanding, what we have a free will to choose. Because most people does not even know what they have a free choice in this world and just accepts their destiny, which is mostly set up for them by the Karma Lords. And in the meantime, strong light beings like Buddha or Christ also came to incarnate to this planet and to help us to remember about love and light. And they were almost pure avatars. That is, they had a very strong connection with the source and were conscious that they are souls and not the avatar they are using. And they did not forget why they came here and what is their mission. And that is to help people to remember and to understand what is a true unconditional love and light. Of course, when they have completed their mission, they were killed to instill fear for people, to show what happens to the ones who spreads the message of love and light too much. Also to instill guilt into people for supposedly they did this by their own free will to the messenger of God, and are now guilty for it and have to live with that guilt from now on. But those light masters went through the ascension process and came back where they originally came from. So they have not only reminded us about love and light, but also they have showed us that it is possible to reconnect with your spirit, to become an avatar and exit this mad world by letting go of all attachments to the physicality, because these attachments are not real and are just mind programming. Besides these main teachers, many other masters were also able to do this too. They are not so widely known, but their roles were also very important. These persons are called Ascended Masters, and they are also assisting us in the liberation of this planet. Just now, we are doing it from non-physical world. They do this by inspiring people to act and live with love and light, also by clearing the infected zone. But of course, after teachers were gone, dark ones have infiltrated into their disciples and distorted their teachings, turning them into blank religions, just another way to control and enslave the humanity. Main message about love and light were still present, but the rest was not pure, especially the part about ascension and the instructions on how to do this exactly, to get away from the karma or slavery system. Yet some secret societies still knows it and are waiting for the right moment to reveal it to humanity. By using religions, dark ones were able to instill even more control over humans. This was part of their plan, because now people began to look for God not in the nature and themselves as before, but in the books and teachings that were written by the dark ones in the top layers of religions, to mind program people to be susceptible to their judgment programs. And many good people fell for it by becoming blind teachers and disciples. So please understand what religions and religious people are not a complete evil. It is just that this is not the straightest way to the source. If it were, religions would be able to understand altogether that we all came from the same source and would stop fighting with each other. But on the other hand, religions were not such a bad thing, because at least that was something what began to unite people. Because of that, people were able to have calmer lives with higher living index. Major wars became mostly religion wars, and that made religions into the best business in the world. Because first of all, people were bringing money to them themselves, to get an imaginary forgiveness from sins, which were artificially implemented into the people in the first place. And second, because armies were able to invade other countries which were pagan or just had different religion and occupy those territories just in the name of the god. Later, when the dust settled and people forgot about everything, smart religion businessmen were able to sell occupied lands and make good profit from it. And it was legal to do that because people were supporting the system by participating in it, just because they didn't know the truth, because of religion's mind programming. But still, because life was not so bad in those days compared to the before, this had to change. So Dark Lords, by using their terrible rituals, started inventing viruses and plagues to inflict sickness into people, so they could suffer while staying at home, when they were not in wars fighting for imaginary honor or safety of their country, or whatever else reason they have been mind programmed to fight for. This was a game changer. Lots of people died and population decreased drastically, and people became angry at God why he did this to us. If we were listening to our major religion leaders and fighted for God. This was all in the line with the Dark Lords, because now people were believing in God, but God was very angry at people. And whenever he wanted, he was able to take anyone's life just by making him sick and letting him to die in suffering for no particular reason. And later, after person dies, karma lords were able to meet that person on the other side and tell him what it was his karma because he was fighting in wars and hurted others. And God never asked anything like it from them, and they themselves made everything up just to justify their own actions, and now they have to suffer for that. But despite the plagues, later life index began to grow even more in world. People were able to trade and lots of rich businessmen came out of this. Financial system started to arouse in all cultures to make trades, but it varied a lot and were not stable. So structure had to be made to control the financial processes. Also, the more people became rich, the more they became afraid of being robbed of their riches, because people were trading mostly in precious metals or coins made from them, and they were heavy and easily stolen. This was exactly what the Dark Lords were waiting for, to install even more control over humanity. What they did then was they have introduced their own created banking system. Banking system was made on a very simple principle. If you want your gold to be safe, bring it to the bank and we will keep it safe for you, and we will write you a banknote what your gold is safe in the bank. People became used to the banknotes because it was easier to manage them and it was safer too. So with time, all people's golden money were changed into the paper banknotes, that as we know now as paper money, with the idea that whenever you wanted you could go to the bank and change the paper money back to the gold. But later, gold lost its status of being a trading tool at all and became just a backup for the paper money. Cheap coins were introduced too, but they were made to represent as a low value to further diminish the value of metal and to raise the value of colored paper. And Dark Lords knew exactly what they were doing, because gold and other precious metals are a stable currency and it is hard to control its value. But colored paper was controlled much easier, because we were the ones who gave this paper to us in the first place. Now, because all people brought their gold to them by their own free will, Dark Lords were able to take control over humanity much easier, because they had what had a real value and we were left with colored paper, which value we were able to control by covering it with economy. This way it was easy to raise economy in some countries by artificially raising value of its money in global market, and to bring down other countries by lowering value of its money. Now that Dark Lords were in control of world's financial system, they could proceed with their plans further. Next step was to create a few world wars. This way people would go into such a big fear and so much trauma and suffering would be inflicted that people would be afraid of everything and would listen only to the government, which was controlled by the dark forces. Because government is wise and can handle things, an ordinary person is stupid and is not even capable of taking care of himself without the aid of the government. First World War was created, then the second. During these wars, smart people were able to make lots of money by selling guns and oil to power the war machines. Also, it was easy to buy land very cheap in destroyed countries and then sell them at high price, when after the war economy became stable again. Also, a lot of suffering were created and karma lords were able to feed on that a lot. But most important, it really pushed people into feelings like fear and helplessness. Because what can you do as a single person when in a world such things are happening, which are determined by governments? And you actually do not even have any choice, because government has told you what you have to go to war and there is no choice in there. And if you won't because you don't want to kill anyone, then that means that you are a traitor of your country and you are supporting the enemy. And when you are in army, when you learn one important thing, that is to listen to your commanding officer's commands and do not ask any questions, because if you do, you will be punished. And this, for the Dark Lords, is an ideal mind control method. Understand, these beings who are doing it are eternal souls, and because their companions are supporting them from the non-physical world, whenever they die, they just reincarnate again or occupy some other body by occult ritual and just proceed with their plans with no memory loss or bad karma of any sort. This way, to control world, they have a very good conditions. And they do not even have any concerns about ordinary people, because they know that no matter how strong you will grow, you will eventually die and will fall into their hands, where they will be able to brainwash you and let you go again into a world anew, without any memories and with lots of karma which has to be dealt with. Another campaign they have started to expand very rapidly after the wars to even further poison people was the process of vaccination. It was offered as a remedy from terrible diseases what they have created themselves. Of course, they had a true cure all along, but they kept it for themselves, like for example antidote to AIDS, which was artificially created to isolate Africa from the rest of the world, where they can do their terrible massive sacrifice rituals in all possible ways throughout starvation, diseases, pollution, genocide, slavery and so on. But now, why did they create vaccines to alleviate the suffering? First of all, people began to trust in their offered chemical-based mainstream medicine and went away from alternative medicine, what was based on natural herbal treatment and magnetic energy healing. So it was a good way to control people again. Another thing was because vaccines in reality are actually slowly acting poison, and when person is vaccinated, all sort of strange diseases like cancer starts to develop in the body over the years, and person did not understand what hit him. And the same medicine is not able to explain how these strange mutations could occur in human body. Yet another reason to blame God for punishing you. And of course, when the disease hits you, then you go to the hospital, where we will pump you up with all sorts of chemicals, what again are poison for us. It can heal sickness, but in itself inflicts all sorts of other diseases what will come out in later years, and then you are their client for the rest of your life. Of course, it is important to understand that our medicine is not a complete evil, because there are working a lot of good people who truly wants to help people, but they are programmed in medicine schools that only one way is possible, and that is Dark Lords created chemical-based way, and everything else is not approved, and it is illegal to study it or even to consider that, and doctors blindly believe in that, because they were programmed to believe so. So it is better to be conscious and stay healthy, so to have fewer opportunities to deal with them. Also, after the war, a lot of war industry was restructured into very toxic transportation industry, because now people were moving, but they were polluting the atmosphere, and by polluting it, they were breathing it and became even sicker. That was according to Dark Lord's plan, because Dark Lords wanted to torture our planet by drilling it to get oil in all sorts of complicated and toxic ways, and then to sell it to people so people could be dependent on their system. Of course, alternatives like electric car were also created at similar time as the internal combustion engine, and were even used in daily basis, but it was not allowed for them to rise and was suppressed, yet conditions for rising were truly present. Because inventors like Nikola Tesla came forward and introduced the free energy devices to our world. But we were silenced because it was not in line with the Dark Lord's plans for everyone to have free energy at home. Because we wanted to sell it to you and to transfer it over power lines, which needed constant care and not wirelessly, as Nikola Tesla was offering. You had to buy it from the Dark Lords, what were made mostly in a very toxic ways, like burning coal or using nuclear substances, this way polluting the atmosphere even more, to create even more sickness and to further torture Earth, by drilling it and polluting it with waste materials. For the Dark Lords, it was very important to entrap people into their system, so people would be dependent on them as much as possible on all levels. So people would think that they are the only ones who can give to people solutions to big world problems, when actually most of those so-called problems were created by them in the first place. And without them, humanity would be able to find much better solutions. Also, it could get help from advanced civilizations where they have everything for free, and it was always like that, because they do not need to convert coal into heat so they could be warm, because they have free energy for everything directly from the source. Also, after the war, there were a big leftover of chemicals which were made to kill people during the war. So what they decided to do was to use them to spray fields where our food was growing, what we are eating, supposedly to prevent parasites, when everybody knew in those days that this can be solved easily with the help of natural organic permaculture. But Dark Lords were not able to patent and sell you plants. They needed control and patents, so you would be their client. So at least they have invented GMOs, which was possible to patent and sell as their product. And sadly, but these creations are very dangerous for us, because they have been created to be dangerous for us in the first place. So person would be affected by them very drastically by distorting its DNA, in which we have all sorts of unnatural mutations in our body. Only solution is to be conscious and to look for ecologically grown organic products, which can be found, or best is to grow your own food. And the rest of the chemicals were started to be put into the drinking water, supposedly to sterilize it from parasites. But we do not need that at all, because it can be easily filtered out with a proper natural filter, without any chemicals. What is very dangerous for us is chloride and fluoride, which are put into our tap and bottled water. This technique was developed by Nazis in concentration camps, because this way prisoners were always dumb and obedient, because we were constantly sick from poisoning. After the war, even though in milder form, but it spread in all over the world. Also, they started to put chemicals into food industry, supposedly as preservatives to prolong their usage time. What is easily changed for natural preservatives found in nature would have no detrimental effect on us. Of course, best idea is to have our own natural organic food, but still patents and business had won over nature. Of course, it is important to understand that industry, even though with big disadvantages, but it is not a complete evil, because it created for us many jobs. Problem is not in the industry or people who are making it. Problem is in those who determine in what direction industry should expand and how it should expand. So it would be in line with the plans of the Dark Lords. Same is with the scientists. There are a lot of good people who believes that they are working for the betterment of humanity, but they are strongly tricked by the Dark Lords, so they would go in circles and would not be able to make any good inventions. And if someone becomes successful, then Dark Lords compromises them or bribes them, or if nothing helps, then just gets rid of them. Because they do not even need new inventions, because they already have everything and are just hiding it from their humanity. And they are letting us to use only such technologies which by their standards fits to their museums. Later, after the World War II and the use of atomic bomb, everyone's eyes in the universe turned to this planet. Because before all this quarantine thing was a local problem in the terms of the galaxies. But because we have used an atomic bomb, the problem was that the explosion created ripples throughout the whole universe, and lots of beings were not happy about it at all, and came to investigate what is going on here. This way, we got way much more attention here, and light forces were able to interfere more and more then, because the whole universe were able to agree on one thing, that is, that this madness has to be stopped. When the Cold War had started, which was all staged by the Dark Forces of course, because both sides were working for the same goal all along, just to create more fear from the tension of possible nuclear war. And the situation happened because Dark Forces wanted to proceed with exploding atomic bombs to create more suffering. But the Light Forces were able to see that if this will continue, the planet will be destroyed, and this should not be allowed to happen. So what happened was that Light Forces had disabled all major atomic bombs all over the world, and no one was able to fire one, yet they have tried. Some minor field testings were allowed, but nothing that could destroy the planet or inflict a major suffering. But one thing Light Forces were not able to stop was that when Dark Lords understood that they cannot use the atomic bombs, they started to create supposedly accidental catastrophes in nuclear plants. This did a major damage to our planet, but Light Forces at least were able to remove most of the radiation. Without this intervention, we would have already been gone. Light Forces wanted to interfere even more than just that, but were not able, because Dark Forces, by not being able to proceed with the use of atomic bombs, took out another card. It was antimatter bombs. Now these bombs were very dangerous, because they are able to change the structure of matter, and using one had a potential of total evaporation of the planet, or even more, not to mention the use of many of them that they had. The only problem with it was that if it explodes, it can destroy the physical world completely. So if Dark Lords were to use them, it would mean the end to ruling of their kingdom too, because soul cannot be destroyed. But to create this physical universe as we love it now took millions of years, and just because of a few madmen, it was a risk way too high to take. Of course, their status of Karma Lords would end too, and this would end the quarantine. Dark Lords would be captured by the Light Forces and be healed with love and light, and this was not in their plans, because we were completely insane and unstable, so it was hard to predict their reactions to the actions of the Light Forces. So Light Forces had to proceed with caution to not to provoke them. But still progress, if not fast, but was stable, and Light Forces were able to neutralize more and more of these antimatter bombs, and building of new ones were not permitted. So living like that later had stabilized suffering in the world in some sense, because Light Forces began to communicate with the surface population during their sleep and in some isolated situations physically to help them to remember the love and light. Population got the message, and Dark Lords were not able to start a World War III, because all of them were prevented in one way or the other. Also, Light Forces came and made physical contact with world governments, offering them super technologies with peace and love. only if governments would tell to the people the whole truth about the world and about the existence of the light forces, and then the world would be able to choose freely the way of peace and love by their own free will. But governments did not like it that, because we were also in line with the dark forces. Some wanted to speak for the betterment of all, but were silenced to show to the coming generations what happens if you do not listen to the Dark Lords. And to prevent the light forces from intervening further, a new plan was made, and it was to program surface population to become afraid of extraterrestrial life forms. So some negative mind-programmed race were called by the Karma Lords to start abducting people during their sleep, to inflict a fear for everything what is not from this earth. Also, cinema started to become popular in the world, and Dark Lords were able to make lots of movies about negative alien races and how we have to protect ourselves from them, because we want to destroy or conquer our world. Because of that kind of programming, aliens became just a fiction for some people, topic of ridicule for the others, and for the third group it was a traumatizing experience. This negative race that came to visit us came from Zeta Reticuli star system. They are also known as just Greys. By coming here, they had a particular agenda, because their race was dying. This happened because they were programmed by the Karma Lords so much that they have lost their ability to love, and without love they started to get weaker and to die, and ended up close to extinction. So we needed human genes, because humans had strong emotions and were able to love. Also, we were closest to them what we were able to find what was accessible to them in the quarantine zone. So we needed our genes to mix it with their genes to create a hybrid species so we could survive and have new better bodies to reincarnate to. Not all of their visits were successful because our planet is surrounded by artificial scalar plasma field to block the energy from the universe, so this planet could be kept as quarantine. And because of this strange technology, sometimes their spaceships malfunctioned and crashed. This is how cases like Roswell became popular. From these crashed UFOs, governments were able to obtain exotic technologies which surpass our today's technologies by hundreds of years. With some time and effort, main governments like USA and Soviet Union were able to recreate alien spacecrafts and began to explore our solar system. These flying saucers are the most common we see in our skies, because spacecraft of light forces are able to turn invisible, and we do not see them unless they want us to, because it is safer for them like that in their operations, to not to provoke the dark forces. Actually, first ones who started to develop spaceship-based advanced technologies were Nazis, because their movement was based on mystical teachings from Atlantis, which is seen in one of Nazi symbols, what is the Atlantean or more widely known Celtic cross, which means earth and sun. In those teachings it was said that in Tibet lies Atlantean treasures. So Nazis went to Tibet and have found the Atlantean treasure. That was a spacecraft technology. Also they have borrowed Tibetan Buddhist symbol swastika, what in East culture means luck. So with these treasures, Nazi movement started to rise very fast and became very strong. It was supposed to take our world to a new technological age, and was staged as a good wishing movement. This is why so many people believed in it. Also Hitler knew about contamination of our world and wanted to fix it by creating a perfect Aryan race without the contamination. It is just that in the process he was misled and mind programmed by the Dark Lords, so that led to concentration camps and gas chambers. This happened because movement was infiltrated by Dark Lords and turned it into another war machine just to create more suffering. When Dark Lords took away all the exotic technology and brought it down to their underground military bases, where Hitler also went when he understood that he had lost the war, and Nazi regime was destroyed completely to destroy all the remaining evidence of the advanced technologies. They did this by letting USA and Soviet Union to become heroes and saviors of the world. Nazi scientists, what were left, have been split into two halves, one for Soviets and another for USA. And only because they had Nazi scientists, they were able to recreate the crashed spaceships. And to trick a surface population, Dark Lords have built a very unstable rocket technology to show us just how hard it is to travel to the space and moon. When they have filmed few movies in a pre-arranged stages as Gagarin flight to cosmos and Apollo's flight to moon. Everything there was fake only to make a good show on TV. By doing even basic photo and video analysis, it is seen clearly, especially from different shadows from artificial lighting. Our flights were genuine, but it was all made under very controlled conditions to hide the fact that cosmos is full of life. And memories of astronauts were changed so we would not tell about it. Some broke through the programming and wanted to talk, but were silenced as Soviet first man in space Yuri Gagarin and USA first man on moon Neil Armstrong were. Because of that, for safety reasons, all official flights to moon were cancelled at all, so to be as little as possible of chance for information to leak out into the public. And all true pictures and filmed material of cosmos were edited. That is still done up until now, just to remove everything what can create any kind of suspicion. After these successful stagings, it was understood just how easy it is to trick people into believing in them. So TV became a true weapon to program the masses, and Dark Lords' plan to take a full control of the world expanded even more, because all the newspapers and TV channels belonged to them, and all small ones were getting information from the big ones. So we were able to feed people with any kind of information, and masses just took it for granted. And it could not have been otherwise, because all of our educational institutions are based according to the Dark Lord's created science model, which was purposely limited so people would think what we are living in a limited world, because supposedly it is not possible otherwise. Even our calendars are changed and distorted just to mix everything even more. And even teaching principles used in our educational institutions are also nothing good, because it is based on an idea that only one way is possible, and everything has to be able to go this way. If you are not able, then you are no good, and you will receive a bad grade for it, as a punishment and proof of that. And if you will continue to oppose the system, then you will be banned from the heaven as Adam and Eve were, because they have sinned and were thinking against Dark Lord's created model. And if you are casted out, you cannot progress further with society, and become a loser in the eyes of the public. This way, students in educational institutions are more traumatized than taught something. That leads to corruption, just to get through, to get a better grade. In reality, educational institutions should be flexible and to be able to adapt to individual students' needs. Young generation is our future, so government should encourage and support science and students, so they could progress and help to bring a better tomorrow for us. Sadly, in these days everything is upside down, because educational system in the opposite is trying to ruin students by burdening them with debt for education and living expenses while studying. A lot of gifted people is not even able to go to schools because they do not have finances to do that. Educational institutions should be based to do their best to encourage the growth of talents and not by forcing to adapt to established models. Actually, if student is not able to understand a subject, this is not a student's problem, but it is educational institution's problem, because it is not able to adapt to individual students' needs and to teach him in such a way so student could understand. Education should be government's investment into young generation so they could be able to create a better future for all of us, and not an individual student's choice so he would be able to survive in this cruel world. Educational institutions should be associated with hope, where our future is born, and not with obligation where everyone has to go and suffer. So we need consciousness and open-mindedness between teachers and students. Then these institutions truly can become great creators of future as they should have always been. Also, it is no better in our individual families too, because model mostly used in our families is based on Karma Lord's created ruling principle. First, relationship between two people is mostly based on dominance, that the one who rules is the one who decides how everything should be in the house, and not on cooperation when reaching same goal, that is common agreement that all family members are equal and all should work for the betterment of all family and not for one person's established model in the cost of everybody else. Also, it is important to rightfully foster children by letting them to feel as full members of his family from the first days, by letting them to participate in family gatherings so that everybody all together could make best decisions for the family, and not by ruling principle when parents have decided and children has to obey, and if not, when you are a bad child, and because of that, parents are not going to love you anymore. Also by showing them a good example as what you can live without smoking or using of alcohol, when in most cases parents are using it themselves, but are forbidding it to children and are even threatening them with punishment if they will start, which is completely illogical to the children's eyes, because child is not able to understand why for the grown-ups it is allowed and for him it is forbidden. How is he inferior to them? This leads to willingness to grow up fast, so you too could taste the forbidden fruit. Of course, many parents are always thinking what they are just wishing all the best for their children. But in most cases we are forgetting what child is seeing everything from a completely different perspective compared to his parents, because child is from a different generation and he is thinking completely differently. At first it might seem that it is all just minor things when compared to the big picture, but in reality small steps, if they are walked correctly, always leads to the bigger ones. So when taking everything into consideration, then in the eyes of a Dark Lord, everything was going on as planned, despite the fact that the rest of the quarantine zone were more and more healed by the light forces. But Dark Lords did not even need the rest of it anymore, because by this time we had the most powerful star seeds incarnated and entrapped in the Earth's wheel of karma, and that was all we needed. In the meantime, governments and certain key individuals were enjoying their super technologies and started very exotic space programs by working together with in the quarantine zone living negative non-terrestrial civilizations, and all together started to create space projects as creation of new civilization in Mars, where traveling for them was a matter of minutes. Actually, Mars have been a flourishing planet before, but because of the work of the Karma Lords, that civilization has been led to destruction. Same way as many other civilizations were led to that as well. Also, government started to create underground cities where we were able to get into contact with extraterrestrial races. These cities are all over the world in underground and are connected by super fast vacuum magnetic trains by which we were able to travel all over the world in minutes. People working in these projects have started calling themselves a breakaway civilization, because with their advance in technology, they truly broke away from the surface civilization, and all these programs were financed from taxes paid by ordinary people. This is one of the main reasons why even such economic giants as USA is still in debt for the World Bank, which is a private corporation controlled by the Dark Lords. To create all that, we had to mind program all sorts of army and science people to cooperate with them. They did this by lying and hypnotizing people by promising them good salaries, career and good contact opportunities, or by noble ideas as supposedly they are going to work for the betterment of the world. And in the end, when people decided to join them, they would take you with one-way ticket. Thousands of people are gone missing every year and are never found again, and those cases are left unsolved. In those bases, some were put in certain projects as Earth's space quarantine control made to fight against light forces, so they would be able to less intervene into Dark Lord's plans. What is called a super soldier program, and people working there are completely fooled what light forces are evil and we have to fight against them, because we are trying to conquer our planet. And those people truly believe that we are doing a good thing by fighting against light forces with their spaceships. But some unfortunately did not found promised projects, but instead were used first for mundane jobs and later were used by them for their satanic sexual sacrificing rituals, especially children which were kidnapped from Earth's surface or taken away from relocated families. They did this because they knew that everybody is connected in subconscious mind, and if one person, especially pure as child, experienced deep trauma, it is embedded in all humanity's subconscious. Also, in those bases, they started creating clones of physical bodies to use them for sacrificing as spare parts for their bodies and for their further reincarnations. Also, in those bases, they are working together with living their much older draconian reptilian races, which are eating humans for food, and humans are food for them in the real sense. Negative races decided to work together with breakaway civilization and gave them much privileges because they were useful for them. Because breakaway civilization were providing them constantly fresh human flesh. When before, to get food, they needed to trick surface population by religions to do sacrificing rituals, as Mayans did for example. This is where legends where innocent child has to be sacrificed to the dragon has originated. But why they were not able to eat human clones for example? Unfortunately, but clones did not fit them, because they were empty. And they needed not as much of meat as of the soul, so they could get life force energy through a very cruel ritual. Then mostly victims are hunted first for fun and later are eaten alive. And in our surface world, it grew into our animal meat eating and hunting culture, because people were not able to eat other people psychologically, so at least started to eat animals to match their gods. In fact, what animals are eating other animals is also unnatural in universe, and is a unique feature only in our quarantine zone. In all this chaos of control, good opportunities arose for growth of individual mafia. These organizations were supported by all sides, because they were as a balancing link. From one side, it was an alternative for the official government, and people were supporting them who did not like the politics of official government. From other side, Dark Lords needed them also, because we were able to give to them small dirty jobs as kidnapping people, for example. So later it would be possible to give them to draconians to feed on. With time, Mafia completely overtook ruling from the official governments and was receiving concrete directions on how to control governments directly from the breakaway civilization. Mafia is also strongly in contact with world's economical structures and major religions. So from time to time, Mafia is getting directions that one or other person is evil and has to be eliminated, or at least punished, and Mafia believes that they are doing a good job by doing this, especially if they are receiving those directions from representatives of major religions, because they should represent our Lord, but in reality are representing only karmic lords. Around 90s, the Reticuli star system was liberated by light forces from Karma Lord's mind programming, and they have crossed to the light side, and their genetic experimentations to create a hybrid race were successful, and even several new races were created, which are very similar in appearance to us, and we will be able to meet with them when quarantine will be fully lifted in our planet. This has ended the genuine abductions, so a new plan was made to continue the fear of abductions, because government created robots which looked like Zeta Grey aliens and proceeded with the madness of abduction to traumatize and spread fear among people about aliens, also for their creep rituals and genetic manipulations. On the other hand, light forces were pushing even further to awake the humanity and to free our planet. Lots of channeling had begun, and light forces were able to transmit telepathically message about the coming liberation of the planet, which was planned on the year 2000. The Dark Ones knew that, so they also started spreading the message about a world end at 2000 to keep people in fear. Because when people are in fear, they panic, and it is way much easier to control them. The original plan of the light forces was to clean the whole quarantine zone by the earthly year of 2000, because dark forces were spread all over the quarantine zone, and it was easy to manage them. But when they understood that they are losing, what they did was they have all teamed up, abandoned the rest of quarantine zone, and all teleported to Earth a few years before 2000. After this invasion, things became nasty. All the people who were able to communicate with light forces were blocked. They did this by drastically intervening in the telepathic signal. Whenever humans started to connect telepathically with the light forces, then Dark Ones took over the signal and sent all sorts of nonsense about world end, like Nibiru, planet destroyer, negative alien planetary invasion, and so on. Poor channelers did not even know what gradually, with time, almost all of them became mind-programmed to spread false future vision. Dark Lords, on the other hand, had knew exactly what we were doing, because we know what with our thoughts we are creating the collective reality. So whenever a message comes out about the end of world, people start to think about it and to create this reality. And also we fall into the fear, and then it is easy to control them. Dark forces also have infiltrated into many New Age thinking movements and trashed those projects a lot by tricking people by giving them false information. Also by taking from people big sums of money for nothing. Because of that, with time people stopped to believe in New Age movements completely. because wherever you turn to, there were lots of scammers and liars who intentionally or not but wanted to trick people and to take their money by promising them miracles if they will just buy expensive products from them, which cost big money for an average person. Of course, we have lots of true, genuine teachers, but Dark Lords are trying to do their best to stop their message from reaching people. But these people are strong and they know what they are doing, and most important, why they are doing it. And that is a complete cleansing of the quarantine zone. Also, Dark Lord started to program surface population heavily throughout movies about world end and alien invasion. Of course, there were released good movies too, which woke up the surface population as Matrix, but they were strongly limited in their portrayed picture of truth. Also, most of those so-called stars in cinema and music industry also belongs to the Dark Lord's elite clubs. This way we were able to feed on people's attention and sexual energy, which has a huge potential, because people are very interested in their favorite stars, private lives, and just how sexy they are in screen. And stars are paid millions for that. Of course, not all of them are evil, but if you want to rise high, you have to join the club. And joining has its own price, which is mostly traumatizing and shameful. That involves drugs and sex acts, and those who lets fresh rising stars to join the club collects and has all the shameful initiation evidence, and then they could force newly joined members to do as they wish, by telling them if not, then their secrets will be revealed. Some wanted to talk, but were silenced, as Michael Jackson with his song, which main words are, "All I want to say is they don't really care about us." Dark Lords had to do this, because light forces were advancing more and more. They even sent troops to the underground negative bases and started to clear them. But Dark Lords were still confident in themselves, because except of the few individuals, the majority of surface population did not knew anything about what is going on and were programmed very nicely to participate in their plan. Their plan was to create a World War III or false alien invasion with alien ships we already had. This would put people into so much fear that all surface population would just start to listen to the governments and do not question anything anymore. We even created a false flag attack like 9/11 to initiate a start of it, but the result ended up not as exactly as we have expected, because of one major difference. Because in these times another rule changer had started to grow, and it was internet. Because of internet, people were able easier to connect and share their experiences. Also, alternative media arose that was talking about the real truth, not the distorted reality that the Dark Lords have given to us. Now we had an alternative. But on the other hand, sadly, but internet allowed them to control and monitor people even more, because people began to publish their private life openly throughout social networks like Facebook and YouTube. Of course, it was not a problem for them before, because they have psychic spies who are able to project themselves into astral body and remote view anything. But for this, they needed highly trained specialists who also had to be mind programmed to participate. Also, we have artificial intelligence machine what is connected to every single electronic device on this planet, and is always conscious about you and your actions, even if a device is turned off and has no power in it. To this machine is connected all world's video cameras, even one you have in your computer, so Dark Lords have eyes everywhere. The only good thing is that they do not have the human capabilities to examine all that information and most of it is just sitting collected in their servers. This is done with their very exotic scalar electromagnetic technologies. What goes through Earth's atmosphere, there is a huge energy potential and we have lightnings because of that. And throughout this, our whole planet could have a free energy. But this technology, instead of giving the surface population free energy, is used for other purposes like to control planet's climate, so they could create storms, dries and floods, because this way they can control migration of people and the value of land. Again, by buying wasted lands very cheap and later when economy is restored in that region, selling them at a high price. This is why we have so much unnatural weather these days. And because our body also has a natural electromagnetic field, which is called aura, so we are able to influence us too, by influencing our thinking, emotions, feelings and physical health. So it would be harder for us to live with ourselves and our surroundings. This is why people are not able to think clearly or feel as they want to, and to have a stable health even if they are trying to live healthfully. Also, this technology disabled our telepathic connection with each other. This is why we are not able to clearly communicate with each other, which led to many conflicts because people are not able to communicate clearly to understand each other's needs. That leads to speculations about each other's motives and so on. And that is the main reason why people are not able to truly trust each other. Also, we have no normal connection with nature that format a program, but nature is lower than human and is just a food and a constructional material, when in reality we are all equal. Our ancestors had a stronger connection with nature through Earth's spirit Gaia, and always when hunting or cutting trees, they asked nature that it would give them what they needed for survival, and were always grateful for everything, and did not take more than they really needed, that way keeping everything in balance. But with our today's hunting, meat, milk, egg, wood, mining and similar industries are not natural, and is a very traumatizing for animals and nature, which really does not help and have been created this way on purpose, to deepen the collective human trauma in our subconscious mind, what we need to kill and to exploit others for survival. Also, this technology is blocking our natural ability to project yourself into astral form and to have lucid dreams by inflicting paralysis during night. This is why we are not able to have normal sleep and rest during night. Also, it is disrupting passing over for spirits to non-physical world. This is why we have so much poltergeist stories. Of course, with special training, this technology can be overcome. But at least we have internet, which also allowed them to initiate the last phase of monetary enslavement system, where at first people had gold in their hands, later gold was changed to colored paper, later all currencies were disconnected from gold and became just paper that had value only because people did agree that it had a value. And Dark Lords were able to print as much of this paper as they wanted. But now, in the digital age, we all began to use digital currencies, because everything is in credit cards. So imagine just how easy for them is to create money now. All they have to do is type in as much as they want zeros after the first number in their World Bank computer, which they have created and are controlling it. And anybody can be a millionaire in their club, and nobody will ever know anything about it because they are the ones who are behind it all. so there is no one to check them. So understand, but they do not have fair lives as we do, where you exchange service with other community members for money. Life is just a game for them, because they do not have to struggle for everyday survival. And most important, they do not even have the gold to back all their numbers, because all the gold what they have stolen from the surface population over millennia was taken away from them by the light forces back in 2012, when operations of the light forces started to grow stronger. And now all they have is just numbers in their central banking computers. And the light forces have a plan now on how to deal with these parasites completely. And with this plan can align every person in this world. First, we need to study and work with ourselves, so Dark Lords would not be able to manipulate us anymore physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. Then to start spreading the truth, this way overcoming their lies, and to demand for the real truth to be released. Then at a certain point, when a critical mass of people will be reached, which will know at least some part of the truth, and will start to demand for the whole truth from the governments will be forced to release the truth, or it will come from an unexpected source, because all needed evidence is already waiting to be released. Then we will enter into the next phase of operation, and China royal dragon families will step forward to get back their gold from the World Bank, which was stolen from them a long time ago by the Dark Lords by tricking them to trade their gold into signed paper, and then turn China into cheap labor mechanism. They will be backed up by the BRICS Union, what is an alternative alliance to the Dark Lords created system that is based on USA dollar, which is connected to oil. BRICS is a union of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Republic of South Africa. Of course, this alternative union has plans of its own to take over the control of the world, but this is not going to be permitted by the light forces. So because World Bank does not have the gold to give it back, this will end up in bankruptcy for the World Bank, and their monetary enslavement system will crash, and they will lose control over the world. Then light forces will step forward and will offer us an alternative. They will offer us a new, fair financial system, which will be based on the gold which was taken from the Dark Lords. Because that gold Dark Lords have stolen from the surface population, so it legally belongs to us. So with time, light forces will distribute that gold to the surface population equally. They cannot do this now because surface population does not know about it and therefore is not asking for it, because Dark Lords are hiding everything. And light forces cannot just show up and just tell us everything about it, because Karma Lords can go crazy and explode the antimatter bombs, or at least Dark Lords can steal the gold back again. Therefore, it has to be a coordinated process. When the gold will be distributed, all governmental debt to World Bank will be nullified, because all of them were created artificially and by trickery. Then light forces will release a new law, what will state that all countries has to pay for their citizens' basic monthly income, which will has to be no less than an average wage in that country, just because they are citizens of that country. Funds for that will be provided. These payments will be paid to all citizens without any restraints, and will add up to already existing payments, and citizens will be able to spend that money without any restrictions. All taxes will be removed, Funds will be provided for that. All people who want will have the ability to get a piece of land and a house for free, just because we are all citizens of Earth and we all have the right for it. Because anyway, now we have more houses and lands what are abandoned or confiscated by government when we have homeless people in the world. Then all hidden technologies will be released, which includes free energy devices which are taking energy directly from the source and is able to suffice your house or car fully, materializing dematerializing devices which can create everything for free. All you need to do is to provide a 3D model and it can materialize everything by taking energy from the source and by materializing it from food to house. Also, with this technology, we will be able to dematerialize all trash and pollution in our planet. We will have a clean transport which will allow us to travel in world and to the stars in minutes. Healing chambers which will allow us to heal our bodies from all diseases instantly and naturally by simply rebalancing magnetic fields in our body. And most important, because we will become conscious about our power, we will be able to consciously choose our freedom for our souls and to end all this quarantine. And all those antimatter bombs will not be an issue anymore. Because with our collective consciousness, we will be able to neutralize all of them. And Karma Lords with no more hostages will be caught by the light forces and healed with love and light at last. All we need to do is to reach a collective agreement what we all want with. With time, we will become a moneyless society, because we will have no need for money anymore, because we will be able to materialize everything instantly. So there will be no need to buy things anymore. And in the end, we will become free to travel throughout the universe and to have a contact with other civilizations. Now that's a true plan. It is all in our hands, and what we need to do now is to remember our power and collectively decide what we want to change this world. Because the only reason we were able to control us up until this moment was because we were able to agree all together on one thing, and that is the enslavement of humanity. But now, because we know the true power of our soul, but with love it can create universe and avatars, now we are making the collective conscious agreement what these Dark Lords are stepping down from their power, and this enslavement system is ending now. And we are in control here, because we are the 99% of population, and we are making decisions in this planet, not the 1% of tyrants. And all these lies has to end now, because the list of lies is truly long. So let's remember what we were lied about. We have lied that we are all alone in the universe by editing all space images and video material and saying even if it were intelligent species, they had to be hostile. But our planet is visited by aliens all the time, so there is no need to worry about the invasion, because it already happened, way before our civilization had aroused. Also, starseeds are among the surface population, and we are friendly with our mission to help for the surface population to awake and to remember that it all was just a bad dream. We have lied about the technologies by stating that we are at the top of our technologies, when in reality, even to compare with the technologies government has, that are free energy devices, ability to travel anywhere in this planet and to the other planets in minutes, healing chambers and matter replicators. So our surface population is living in Stone Age with its fossil-based technologies. We have lied about our history, but everything was evolution and there were no civilizations prior to us. When in reality, major governments like USA and Russia has all the evidence and are just keeping them hidden. Actually, most of our official history that is written in books for studying are mostly lie, just to keep us as far away from truth as possible. We have lied about all wars and terrorist attacks. It was all fabricated to keep surface population in fear and apart. By the way, skyscrapers do not fall from the plane crash. For that you need much more explosives, and even those has to be laid by professionals to bring down such a strong construction, what was made to withstand strong earthquakes. We have lied what we have to suffer during our lives. Because we are the sinners, so we have to repent for our mistakes, and we have to even pay them so they could supposedly forgive us. Because only they have a true connection to God, because they are the saints, because they know ritual ceremonies on how to do it properly. By the way, each religion claims that only they know the whole truth, and other religions are misguided by the devil. But we are mortals, and we are worthless sinners, and we are not worthy to have the connection. So we have to only listen to what they are saying to us, if we want to earn our place in paradise. When in reality, they are the ones who are doing their best to keep us apart, to not to be able to reach constructive agreements and live in peace and love. We have lied, but our governments are genuine, and by voting we can make change. When in reality it doesn't matter for what you vote, because all the major decisions are done behind the scenes, and the politicians who supposedly represent our government are just their puppets. No matter what you will choose by vote, they will command the weak ones, bribe the ones who are bribable, and terrorize the genuine ones, just to keep their control. And most important, they have lied, but we have to be slaves for their system. By their model, we should be born in pain, work half of our lives by doing things we do not like to do, because the economy is low and it is hard to get a good job, so we have to suffer all the time, so in the end we could afford our own house, and we could be able to feel at least some freedom. But by the time we are able to buy a house, our physical body becomes sick from overworking, and our soul becomes tired of boring life. This ends up in physical disease, and we spend the rest of our lives trying to fix or at least maintain our physical body. Because we are afraid of death, because we are sinners and we are going to go to hell for our sins. Now that is how life is on this planet. And even when you die, you are forced to reincarnate again, because you made a lot of mistakes by their judgment standards, and have to reincarnate and proceed with the suffering. When in reality we are all free souls and we have a right to choose whatever experience we want, without any limitations. It is just what we have been tricked into believing in anything else but not our true freedom. Now that is a decent list of crimes we have committed against humanity. So if we want to do this, we have to be brave and release our inner power by starting to reach agreements all together for the same goal. That is what the whole truth has to be revealed officially and publicly. and it has to be 100% of it and nothing less. We have to start understanding but there is nothing wrong with us. It is just they who want us to think this way, to keep us in fear and apart. Our uniqueness is our strength, and all we have to do is to remember how to respect each other and uniqueness in others with freedom to express itself uniquely. This way, we all can live in peace and harmony, and do not let them to put you in fear and separation, but to use all of our might to reach constructive and equal agreements, so we all could live in peace. Now, if this is the world picture you want to see, then you have to take back your power from them, this way joining the light forces. This can be done by following this guideline, which purpose is to help for humanity to align themselves with the light forces plan to liberate this planet, and to end this whole quarantine hostage drama. Take back your willpower and ability to make decisions. For this, take a piece of paper and write down what you are an independent and free soul, and what in the name of God you are forbidding them from influencing you. And from now on, you are turning a new page where you are choosing freedom for your soul and the whole world, and you want to see it this way. It is important to repeat this consciously every day so they could not influence you again. It is important to understand what when you are born, they are giving you a birth certificate, what indicates that your body now belongs to this country, and they can do whatever they want with it. And all other Earth's citizens, just because they are born under different colored flag, are your potential enemies. And this is not true, because our body belongs to us, and not to their system. And we are all inhabitants of the planet Earth. And in the end, we are all inhabitants of one universe, because we all came from the same source. Take back control of your mind. Choose what information you are receiving and from what sources. Start meditating. This way you will be able to start to perceive your thinking process and start to break their mind programs, and will be able to think clearly. In your mind, always see pictures what you like to see. That world is beautiful and you are healthy. If they will send you negative thoughts or pictures in your mind, then use your willpower and overcome them with positive ones. Understand, we are creating reality with our thoughts, so start thinking wisely and be conscious as much as possible. And it does not matter what world we have today. What matters is what we want to see tomorrow, because tomorrow we will always see consequences of today's actions. Do planetary liberation meditation. Find a silent place where you will be not disturbed. Close your eyes and relax. Then imagine energy coming from the cosmos into the earth throughout you, healing your body and the whole planet. Then see all those Dark Lords and Karma Lords stepping down from their power and surrendering peacefully and turning into the light side. Then see all hidden information and technology being released to the surface population and everybody living happy for the rest of eternity. Do this daily, or at least every Sunday 7 p.m. GMT, as we all do. This is very important, because this way light forces can free this planet easier, because there are people who are supporting their actions with their decision what they want this to happen. Take back control of your emotions. Start practicing loving everything what you do and are interacting with. If negative feelings come, then use your willpower and change them for love. Understand what love is the most powerful feeling in the whole creation, and is connecting us together and to the source. When love is flowing, then you have the power to make things happen. Love can transform negative things into positive ones, Even if you have a detrimental habit, if you will do it with love for the pleasure of it and not with guilt because you are doing it, then love can neutralize or at least lessen the negative effect of that habit. If a negative feelings come and a source of it is detectable, maybe it is a certain situation, maybe a certain person, or maybe it is you, then just forgive it and let go. This way you will release the energy tension which can cause a lot of trouble in your life. Also, it is important to forgive all people, situations, or yourself from this life and the past ones. This can be done with regressional hypnosis, or if someone could read your soul records, so you would not need to hold on to the traumas and you could move on further easier with your life. Take back control of your energy body. We are stealing our energy and are feeding on our account. One way we can take back what rightfully belongs to us is by doing daily energy work, like Tai Chi, Qigong, or similar. These techniques were developed by wise people who had the ability to see how energy flows in our body and can redirect them to flow for us and not to them. If not do this, then they will drain us out completely. And this is the main cause for physical disease. That is the lack of natural electromagnetic energy, which body could use to protect itself and use for healing. So energy work and protection is very important. Good exercise is to cross your arms or legs when sensing energy what is affecting you negatively. This way you will activate a filtering field which will protect you from the influence of that energy. Also, training in lucid dreaming and astral projection or similar extrasensory training can help a lot too. Take back control of your physical body. Start training your physical body. This is crucial because when we are moving, we are generating our natural bioelectromagnetic field around us. If not moving, field is dying and we are dying too. By doing bodily yoga, you can learn about your body a lot and learn to trust in it. Martial arts can help you to trust in your inner power and how to respect other people. Watch over your body's overall health by receiving all daily needed nutrition and by balancing pH level. It should always be slightly alkaline, between 7-8 pH. This can be done by checking your saliva and urine with pH paper. If pH is not normal, problems like cancer can occur. To regulate pH, use baking soda to go towards alkaline or vinegar towards acidic. Use as much foods what has natural antioxidants in them. Antioxidants will make you healthier and will prolong your life. You can find them in all natural organic vegetables and fruits. Get lots of fresh water and air. Stay away from all chemicals and intoxicants as much as possible. Choose instead natural organic products to detoxify your body. Every chemical product can be changed to natural organic one. Just do your own research. Respect and connect with nature and all its elements like water, wind, earth and fire by interacting with them, by using all of your senses. Elements can clear us and charge us. Walking barefoot in nature, swimming in lake or sea, walking in strong wind is a few good examples. Also with celestial bodies like sun, moon and stars. By watching them and getting energy from them, they can really charge us, especially the sun, which is called sun gazing. And in overall, by loving all nature inhabitants. Also by using fast, regrowing natural materials and by being grateful and ecological and friendly to nature as much as possible. Create good surroundings for yourself where you could feel good. It is very important. This way, you will be able to stay easier in positive and loving vibrations, and dark forces will not be able to influence you so much. If possible, move to nature, where is a strong natural earth magnetic field, which can charge our field. Also, there are less environmental pollution. If possible, go off-grid by having your own electricity, water and food. This way you will become independent and will not pay them taxes, what they are using for their pleasures, and to proceed with their plans of creating more suffering for us. Stay away from all artificial electromagnetic fields that are radiated by our electronic devices, as wires, kitchen equipment, computers, TVs, telephones, and radio waves as wireless internet. It was all created with a purpose, so artificial intellect could influence us, and this is not natural for us, and has to be neutralized. It can be neutralized with a flower of life symbol, because this symbol aligns energies to their natural structure, because according to this symbol, everything was created in this universe. So just print lots of those mini symbols and stick them on all of your electronic devices. This will rebalance negative electromagnetic field. Also, earth elements as crystals can help, because they are radiating natural Earth's electromagnetic field and are raising overall energy and consciousness in whole environment. Neutralize negative zones in your home. You can find them by using dowsing rods in home. If they cross, then it is a dead spot. These spots can occur there for various reasons. You can neutralize them by putting a flower of life sticker there. This will neutralize the negative zone. Or by placing a crystal there. Then test with dowsing rods again. Now they should stay open. This indicates that energy flows naturally and the spot is clean now. You can test electric devices the same way. This is important to do so because negative zones are weakening us, and because of that, opportunity for sickness occurs. Plants and pictures of saints or their symbols also cleanses and strengthens home energy, because they represent high level of consciousness. Set your relationships with people straight. Understand, we are all different. And we have different opinions, so respect that and choose people you feel good being with around. This way you will always have a positive influence. If there are people in your environment who are affecting you negatively, then just remove yourself from their presence, or at least limit your presence around them. Understand that most people are just mind programmed to act in certain ways, and they are slaves to their habits. So be forgiving and understanding. When the scalar fields around our planet will be removed, then everybody will get in touch with their soul again, and the soul will put everything in place for everybody individually. Bring back magic and wonder into your life. Stop doing things you do not like because you think you have to do, and start doing things you like and always wanted to do. Make your hobby into your income source. This way you will be able to be happier about your life. And by staying in positive loving vibrations, it will be easier to live. It is best to work on projects that can make our world into a better place for everyone. And most important, understand that we are not alone here and have never been, because this planet, as all others, are watched over by the light forces for thousands of years. and everything what is happening here is recorded in soul records. So when the time will be right, everybody will have the opportunity to know who is a good guy and who is a bad guy. Also, starseeds like me are millions on this planet, and we are assisting the healing process on the field. So understand, I do not want to prove anything to anyone. All I want is just to share and inform surface population about what is widely known and talked about in all languages. And now, around our planet are millions of spaceships with light forces assisting us in our transit. If not them, we would have destroyed ourselves or have perished from some other cataclysm long time ago. So just because you don't see them yet, it does not mean there is none. When the time will be right, they will reveal themselves, but for this moment, they are working behind the scene. And soon, with the cooperation of surface population, or without it, but this old regime will be brought down, as it was done in all other worlds, and this one is the last one. So it is up to you to decide. Do you still want to hold on to the old, or you want to go to the new? Because nothing, and I mean nothing, will prevent this change from happening. Because big process has already been made, and negative forces are already negotiating their surrender, and are crossing into the light, and many wiser ones already did that some time ago. Pressure for darkness is increased with every day and will be increasing until it will capitulate completely. Fact, what you do not see about it on TV just proves what media is still in their control. Also, low-level dark minions are not even aware of what is happening here and still thinks that they are on the winning side. So if you want the truth, then do your own investigation. It is not expected what they will give up easily, but the more we will press them with truth, the less they will have freedom to influence us. Also, you have to understand that fact what we are suffering here does not change anything, because we are eternal souls, and we have survived for many thousands of years. So we will be fine anyway, because soul is eternal, so there is nothing to be afraid of. But to deal with suffering, we have to remove the source of it, and that is those souls who are contaminated by the virus and are defected. Also understand that anger and aggression is not a way to deal with the situation. They needed to be healed and not destroyed. By trying to destroy them, we will be just like them. They are sick, and sick people are healed, not killed. This is why I am putting this message out now, just so this transit would go easier, because it is just a matter of time. With surface population participation, it will go faster and smoother. Without it, it will take more time and there will be more bumps on the road. But it will happen. It was always been meant to happen, because everything here is based on galactic cycles. Before we have been in so-called galactic night, and at night the virus had opportunity to spread, but a galactic day has begun to rise, and in 2025 year we will have a true daylight, and virus cannot do anything about it, and will be just disinfected by that time. So it is all in our hands. The salvation with our help will happen today or tomorrow and will end the suffering, or we will have to wait when light forces will do it on their own. And when we will fix this virus, because now we have a good antivirus created, anything like this will not be permitted anymore. So love and light to you, and remember, Love is the only answer, and freedom of soul is the only way. Thank you for watching. If my work had helped you, then please donate and support my work by using link in video description. This way I will be able to afford to not to go to regular job and could create more documentaries in my native Lithuanian language, because we are a small country and we have a very limited information there. Also in English too, so my message could reach more people. This is my way of following my excitement. So it is important to support like-minded people. So thank you for that. Or if you would like to share your experience or have a private session with me in which I can help you to get back your memories or to remove negative programming which is suppressing your potential, which can be from this or past lifetimes, then get in touch over email. Thank you for your time.